Unforgettable moments, 2 championships, Super Bowl 42, no doubt one of the finest moments in the career of Eli Manning, with his playing days coming to an end. Of course, Judy Battista, the conversation has to flip a little bit and shift to Canton. It is our responsibility to do this. He finishes his career 117 and 117 and even 500. Only 2 quarterbacks with a non-winning record have ever been enshrined, Sonny Jurgensen and Broadway Joe Namath. So we appreciate you being here. Let's get this talk going on whether or not you think he should be headed to Canton.
I think he will get to Canton. I don't know if it'll be on the first ballot. He might have to wait a little bit. So much of that depends on who else is on the ballot. They only put in 5 at a time, so, you know, they get a little bit of a backlog. I think ultimately he'll get there, not just because the 2 Super Bowl MVPs, but those playoff runs were extraordinary. All of the games. Remember, he beat Favre in Green Bay. He beat Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. They beat the San Francisco 49ers in Candlestick in the rain, that dramatic game. And then, of course, to me, the biggest thing on his resume is, you know, you beat the undefeated Patriots, arguably the greatest team in the history of the NFL, in one of the greatest upsets in all of sports. And you just saw the Tyree helmet catch and, you know, then the Plexico touchdown. And then 4 years later, the incredible sideline throw to Manningham. That, to me, is the top line of his resume when you're making the argument for Canton.
There's an argument to be made about, you know, but if he didn't have those 2 Super Bowl runs, he wouldn't. That's a hell of a qualifier, because he had those 2 Super Bowl runs.
Yes, no question.
And he was Super Bowl MVP. And to Judy's point, you can't write NFL history without Eli Manning getting in the way of Tom Brady in that undefeated season. And then to double down 4 years later and do it all over again. He's a Hall of Famer in my book, and I think he might be first ballot. I really do. You talk about the consecutive games that he played. You talk about the fact he never got injured. The fact he was the face of one of the blue-chip franchises in the NFL. With those victories and with the numbers, people say, well, if he didn't play in New York, he wouldn't. He played in New York. Like, that's all part of it. The fact that he did play in New York, did bring success, and did beat Brady and Belichick twice. That's what matters to me, and I know there are Jim Plunkett fans out there saying, well, he's got 2 rings.
Yeah, he does.
Okay, sure,
Well,
he does.
I think it's more about the
It ain't Eli
moments.
Manning.
I think it's more about the moment. So when you talk about the Hall of Fame, you have to have that moment when, like, especially as a quarterback, it's like that play. And Eli has a bunch of obviously we're watching him here, all the plays in the Super Bowl. And I always go back to, people talk about winning in Green Bay. Remember, they had to go through Tampa that first year, and Tampa was rolling.
Jeff Garcia.
Yeah, and they were on fire. They had to go down to Tampa and win in Tampa, go on the road and make this run to the Super Bowl.
First going to Dallas and beat Tio and
Right.
Romo, where they were the 14-2 team.
Right, and so, like, Eli's done it, and to me, I think he's a Hall of Famer. I don't know if he's first ballot as well, dude. I think I agree with you on that, just because of the numbers and the way things match up. But his moments and what he's done and who he played for matters, because that's the eyes. People have seen him, right? It's different if you play in, you know, Jacksonville, per se. Like, you don't have all the eyes. You played in New York, you've handled yourself the right way. And let's all be honest, like, there's a human element in there as well. Writers are going to talk about how you talk to him, how you appreciate him. I mean,
And
that's why Charles Haley didn't make it, you know, it took so long for him to get in. But he did everything the right way with class. And I think the way he ended his career with class is going to help him more than hurt him, because he could have been a jerk and kind of was like, oh, I'm not going to do this. But no, the way he handled it is all, everybody's going to remember that as he goes in.
MJD, Judy, we have an elitist at the table when it comes to the Hall of Fame, someone who's very particular. He's sitting right there.
Thank you, Kay. I think that's very
Take it
accurate.
away.
Judy,
You heard all the arguments.
I am. I'm a 1%er as it comes to the Hall of Fame. I think what makes the Hall of Fame special is exclusivity. I think not letting people in is what makes it so incredible to get in. I think Eli will get in. I actually do think he'll get in on the first ballot, and when he does, I'll stand up and applaud, because I love Eli. I would not vote for him. I would not, because really simple. I don't think he was one of the best players of his generation. I don't think he was one of the best quarterbacks of his generation. If you look at Peyton, if you look at Breeze, if you look at Brady, take away all the Super Bowls, they're still the best players. We know who the best players are. And as much as we love to get wrapped up in the Super Bowls, and I stood and cried and screamed for the David Tyree catch, the last 7 years of Eli's career, not 2, not 3, he led all quarterbacks in losses, all quarterbacks in interceptions, all quarterbacks in turnovers. It's not even that he hasn't been one of the best. He hasn't even been average. So I love Eli. He'll get in. And if someone wants to make a case about big moments and class and toughness, I respect it. I only want the 1% best of the best, and Eli objectively was not one of the best quarterbacks.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys in the Hall of Fame that weren't the 1% best of the best.
Yeah.
Then maybe they shouldn't be in.
The Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
to me, is just a museum.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can tell the story of the NFL, certainly not of the modern NFL, without Eli Manning and those Giants teams. Let me just throw this out. He had 1,219 passing yards in the 2011 playoff run. That's
Great
the
year.
most
That's
by
really
any
good.
quarterback in a single playoff run.
Yeah.
So he did have these top moments. He didn't have the long stretch of excellence, but when he got high, it was the highest of the high.
And not everyone in the Hall of Fame does have the long stretch of excellence,
Right.
right?
Yeah, I mean,
Who's he in company with here? Like, is
Well-
it going to be between him and Philip? Like, is it going to be one of those things?
That's
where
the generation is
Right.
interesting because it's Roethlisberger, it's Rivers, and then you also have Brady, Breeze, and
Yeah.
Peyton the next year. Like,
That's a tough
Do you get a
group.
quarterback every single year now? Then it really does.
And once he gets in, how many people are going to point to Eli? Look at his resume and look at mine. Mine is far superior. I throw way more touchdowns than Eli. It does open kind of a book, I think.
But there's 12 there's quarterbacks with multiple Super Bowls as a starter. The only ones not in the Hall of Fame: Brady, obviously he will be; Peyton Manning, he will be; Roethlisberger, he will be; and Jim Plunkett, and now Eli. So that's a pretty small, exclusive group, and most of them are going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Ooh,
That's a pretty good argument for Eli.
I love Judy. You got to be in that room. You got to be making that argument. You got to
not in
make
the room.
the
You're not in the room.
presentation.
You want in
'cause-
the room. And sometimes it's a burden. Do you want to be in that room?
It can be a burden, but
Well,
I
if
do.
you ever
Oh,
go,
you would-
call me, and I'll help you out.
You'll talk in my ear.
I got you.
Judy Batista, thanks for
Make
being
the
here
case,
with us.
Judy.
You're going
Let's
to
get you in
join
there.
us again. We're going to share some more memories, what it means, and I want to get into what the ownership feels and the connection that he has. Mara, you wrote in your piece, which you can all go ahead and read at NFL.com. That Mara had tears in his eyes that last game. There's a lot of ins and outs and connections. So you go read that and then come join us when Judy is back at the table. We'll
Great
sell
job,
this
Judy.
out in the newsroom in Culver City with more.
All right, thank you, Kay, guys, and Judy. Great having you there at the table. Well, the Browns receiving core dealing with more than what they revealed during the season. Odell Beckham Jr. is currently recovering from a core injury that was hampering him during the season. Then there's the case of teammate Jarvis Landry. Landry saying he battled a hip injury during the season. He believes he easily could have reached 1,500 yards receiving without it. He ended up with 1,174 yards and 6 touchdowns. Landry says he's out of the, quote, deep water in his recovery. Bless him. Saints quarterback, a pending restricted free agent, Drew Brees, says he won't make a decision anytime soon on coming back for a 20th season, but general manager Mickey Loomis says they obviously want him back. Loomis saying, quote, we'd love to have Drew back, and if he wants to be back, then we'll go from there. I'm assuming that he does. Teddy Bridgewater also set to be an unrestricted free agent, while Taysom Hill will be a restricted free agent. Well, the Dolphins have a QB decision to make of their own. General Manager Chris Greer telling reporters Wednesday he fully expects Ryan Fitzpatrick to return for the 2020 season. In his first mock draft, our draft expert, Daniel Jeremiah, has Miami slated to take Alabama quarterback Tua Tagovailoa with the 5th overall pick in April's draft. And Cardinals wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald announcing he'll be coming back in 2020, but he's already looking to the future with his business investments. You see, it was announced Wednesday that Fitz has purchased a minority stake in the NBA's Phoenix Suns. He tweeted that he's excited to make a long-term commitment to his hometown team. Now, Fitzgerald joins Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers, who purchased a stake in the Milwaukee Bucks in 2018, as the only active NFL players who are partial owners of NBA teams. Now, we have a fresh edition of Total Access coming your way tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern. And let's see what Lindsay Rose and Willie McGinnis have in store for us.